Update. Future ex-fiancé is angry because I don't want to share my son's money. Original post. I, 35 female, met my fiancé 2 years ago. My son, 4, gets on well with him, and my ex-husband, my son's father, also likes him. Now to the point. 3 years ago, I won a large sum of money in the lottery. Not millions, but enough for a nice life if I work normally, and a good start for my son later. 75% went into a savings account that my son will have access to when he's 21. My fiancé always thought he had plenty of money and never let me correct him. I insisted on a prenuptial agreement, and for that the finances were disclosed. Now the amount in my son's savings account is about 5 times more than anything my fiancé has. Completely enraged, he left the lawyer's office and ignored all calls for 2 days. For me, that was the end of the relationship, and I wrote to him saying that he could have the ring back. A week later, he was at the door. He would love me, but was in shock and now wanted details of where the money had come from. He also told me that he had a 5-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, and that it would only be fair to split the money so that his daughter could also benefit from it. He sees it as justified, as I got the money through luck and not through performance. I gave him back the engagement ring and kicked him out of my apartment. Since then, I've been getting messages from various social media profiles and cell phone numbers that I would be the a-hole who is ruining his daughter's future. I only found out about his daughter that day. I never even saw any photos or anything like that in the past years. Edit. I probably have some explaining to do. In my country, lottery winners are never revealed. Sometimes they say in which region a ticket was bought, but never more. Apart from the financial security for my son, there is no sign of the win in my family. I used my part of the win to pay off debts and bought myself a car. Neither new nor anything special. We live in the same rented apartment, and I still have my job that pays the monthly bills. I treat myself to a 2-week vacation in Australia once a year, but never in luxury. My son wears Temu clothes. He loves the designs, and I don't have any designer stuff myself, and always wear my clothes up. So there was never any sign that my fiancé was a gold digger. On the contrary, I had to fight for him not to keep inviting me to dinner or paying for weekend trips. I mostly turned them down. I grew up in a financially unstable family, so I was always very concerned about being frugal. My son's savings account is also closed to withdrawals before his 21st birthday. You can put money into it, but you can't take it out. And even then, only he is allowed to do so. I also will inform and prepare him for that moment. He will not be lost and alone with that. He also getting $20 per month. He can do with that whatever he wants. And even now he can save and think about. So 21 is a realistic age. Now for the top comments before reading the update 2 months later. Not the a-hole. You did the right thing breaking things off. Stay broken up. This dude will ruin your life otherwise. Yes, for me this relationship is over. I'm just shocked at the games he's playing now. I still haven't found out whether he really has a daughter or whether he made it up so he could disappear with half the money. Neither keeping his daughter a secret nor making one up to get half your money is a desirable action in a fiancé. I'm glad he's now your ex. You knew this guy for 2 years, got engaged and didn't know he had a daughter? And he's upset that you didn't mention your son's money? Well, I tried to tell him about my finances. He never wanted to know. He always were kind of, yeah, I'm the man. You don't have to worry. Another red flag. Finances are one of those major things that you always need to have a good long conversation about when things get serious. If he was brushing off that conversation, there was something shady going on with his own finances. Like he doesn't nearly have the funds he presents himself as having. I don't care if the man is going to be supporting me. We need to know where we both are with finances and debt. He needs to know if he's going to be assuming responsibility for your car note, your house note, your credit card debt, your student loans, or if you have some massive pile of funds he won't be able to touch. Or if he really won't need to be the man because your family is fabulously wealthy. Now for the update. Hello everyone, thank you for your support on my original post and sorry for the long wait for an update. After receiving many of your tips, I took my son to his grandparents, informed the police, and also my boss. Unfortunately, the police can't do much in my country as long as he hasn't committed a crime against me. Harassing me on the phone and begging for money doesn't count as a crime. I informed my boss mainly because my ex-fiancé works for a company that we deal with almost daily. That's how we originally met. In recent weeks, there have been many attempts by his friends and family to contact me, all of whom wanted to convince me to give him the money, but every time I asked about his daughter, they hung up. When my ex-fiancé showed up at my workplace, he normally didn't have to after getting a promotion. My boss immediately called his company and explained that if he took one more step in my direction, all contracts would be canceled due to their unacceptable behavior. This led to a meeting with my ex-fiancé's boss, my boss, and me. I didn't tell them every detail, but when it came to the money, his boss explained that my ex-fiancé actually wanted to buy a large stake in the company and was allegedly just waiting for the loan to be paid out. This made it clear why he wanted my son's money so badly. My ex-fiancé is a highly respected employee at his company, which is why his boss was reluctant to fire him, especially since it probably wouldn't have improved my situation. Similar to the police, his boss considered it bad behavior but not a criminal offense. At the same time, my company is a very large client for them, and sweeping the whole thing under the rug wouldn't help either. After a few days, I received news that my ex-fiancé was being transferred to another branch of the company, several thousand kilometers away from me. The company's purchasing department also clearly rejected his proposed buy-in. Afterward, I found out via social media that my ex-fiancé actually has a daughter. A friend was still following him on Instagram to keep an eye on him, and when she checked his tagged posts from the last 6 years, she noticed his ex. A look at her profile showed a girl of the specified age. I contacted her, and she willingly explained how much he had wanted a child, and how when the ultrasound showed it was a girl, he left her. He broke off contact with the mother during the pregnancy and willingly gave up all his rights and obligations as a father. She is now in a happy relationship, and her husband loves her daughter. She never asked my ex-fiancé for money. Following your advice regarding the savings account, I contacted our financial advisor and can now say that I owe you an apology. It is indeed a trust fund. I just hadn't referred to it as such until now, as it is mainly called a savings account in my country. But yes, it is a trust fund in the American sense. I discussed with my ex-husband, the father of my son, once again how we would handle the payout. Thanks to your tips, we've now decided on a staggered payout from ages 21 to 35 so that he has contributions for several stages of his life. The amount at age 21 has been chosen so that it can be used for college, but at the same time, it won't be devastating if he squanders it. My question about AITA was mainly because there were actually many people in my circle who called me that because I persuaded my ex-fiancé to sign a prenuptial agreement. But for me, a prenuptial agreement was important for several reasons. 1. To secure my son's money. Now I know he wouldn't have been able to get his hands on it. 2. I started a small business in addition to my main job. Nothing big at the moment, but it's still mine. 3. I'm saving money so that I can eventually realize my dream of owning a house in Australia, and I didn't want to lose that money to him in a divorce. In retrospect, I can see how many red flags I overlooked on his part, and I will definitely be more careful in the future. Thank you for your support, also via DMs. Protecting your son's future doesn't make you the villain. It makes you the only one in his corner, while everyone else tried to cash in. Agree, she did exactly what any real parent should do. The way folks tried to guilt her for protecting her kid is actually wild. As a fellow Australian, I'm not sure what lazy police officer told you harassing calls don't equal a criminal complaint, but they are wrong. You can absolutely lodge a formal complaint against him if you have a record of all the call logs, and while it may not lead to charges and court, the police can make a visit and tell them to stop. You can also inform your phone company about it if it continues. I live in Central Europe, and unfortunately, things are very country-specific here. He didn't threaten me, blackmailed me, or anything like that. He made a heck of a lot of phone calls, yes, and tried to persuade me, but nothing that could lead to a court order, according to the police or my lawyer. He didn't show up at my door, and when he showed up at my work, it was the first time I had seen him in weeks. Good on you, OP. You're being a great mother. Have you looked at the Australian housing market? It's brutal and keeps growing. You might want to consider buying ASAP before it gets out of your reach. The plan is to save for another 15 years or so. I can't just now emigrate to Australia because of my son. He loves his father, who is very present in his life, and I don't want to drive a wedge between them. But I don't want to give up my son either, so we'll wait until it's clear where the future will take him. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to break up with my boyfriend because of his niece? My boyfriend, 33, has a niece, 10, whom he has been helping raise since she was 6 months old. I was told her mom and dad were not involved. When we first decided to get serious, I knew about his niece and his role in her life, but I didn't realize the extent of it. When I first met her, she was a nice kid, but the second time I met her, it was terrible. We went to the aquarium and she wanted an ice cream. When we sat down so she could eat, my boyfriend shared a funny video with me from his phone. After watching it and laughing, I turned and looked at his niece. She had thrown her ice cream down on the table and was crying. He asked her what was wrong, and she looked at me, then back at him. Right then, I knew this would be trouble. After he calmed her down, he basically ignored me the rest of the time to keep her happy. She had started crying because he showed me a video and not her and felt left out. After we dropped her off, he tried to apologize, and I told him I was left feeling uncomfortable. I felt like a bother to them, like a third wheel. He told me he was just trying to make the rest of her time there happy for her. I ended up letting it go, but told him he needed to talk to her and let her know I wasn't going anywhere. He agreed. Fast forward a few months later, my boyfriend and I planned a trip out of town so he could run in a marathon. He then told me his niece wanted to come. I asked if that was a good idea since I hadn't seen her since the aquarium incident. He said he talked to her and just wanted to have a good weekend. I agreed and decided to give her another chance. We picked her up that morning, and not even an hour into the trip, she was already crying. She cried most of the day, so his attention was, of course, on her. I tried to be sympathetic and let him do his thing, but I noticed that anytime he showed me any attention, she would start crying. I bought us tickets to watch a movie she had been asking for, but when we got there, she cried and didn't want to watch it. That night, she had agreed to sleep in her own bed, but when she saw my boyfriend lie down next to me, the waterworks started again. She didn't want him laying with me. He then jokingly told me, "Hey, I'm gonna sleep with crybaby in her bed, okay?" I was fuming because I knew it was intentional. She had been sitting there fine until she saw me and him together. I was furious because instead of talking to her, he gave in. The next day at the mall, he and his niece were holding hands, walking in front of me, basically leaving me out while they chit-chatted and enjoyed each other's company. By the end of the day, my boyfriend asked, "What's wrong? You've barely spoken a word to me." As if I could. Later on, when he was finally talking to me and showing me attention, his niece kept interrupting us. I knew once again what she was doing. Now that the trip is over and I've replayed everything in my head, I want to end this. However, I know he's going to throw it in my face that she's a little girl who has abandonment issues and is just scared of losing him. I understand that, but I don't agree with how she's being raised. I don't think she should be getting her way every time she cries for something. Am I being harsh? Does that make me the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your boyfriend will just have to wait until niece grows up before he can get serious with anyone. You don't have to put up with this. And don't be afraid of him throwing it in your face. You just need to stand up to it and say no. This is final. I'm not interested in living in this kind of scenario. As if his niece won't continue to ruin his chances of finding a partner well into adulthood. And no, I'm not blaming the kid. At this point, the blame is squarely on the boyfriend for indulging this behavior. Who the kid grows up to be if this type of behavior continues to go unpunished remains to be seen, however. Not the a-hole. It sucks because he's failing his niece more than anything by enabling her and not setting boundaries. There are ways to include her without excluding you, and your boyfriend can't seem to understand that. Honestly, it wouldn't be worth it to me to stay to try to figure it out. Life is short. Completely agree. He probably would throw it back in your face, but that's even more of an indicator of how he handles conflict. Also, if you guys were to stay in the relationship and possibly have kids, he isn't showing that he has good boundaries. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my partner to sniff test my crotch anytime I've been out? Okay, I know this sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I can't believe I even have to write this, but my partner, 25 female, insists that I, 26 male, would only have a problem with her wanting to smell my genitals when I come home if I were trying to hide certain smells. We've been together 4 years, lived together for 2, and there's no history of cheating. But she's always been quite jealous and paranoid. Over the past 7 to 8 months, however, it has gone crazy. She checks my phone constantly, which, fine, there's nothing to hide, but it does feel invasive. If I'm out with friends, she tracks me and expects me to check in constantly. If I take too long to reply, she accuses me of all sorts. If I'm late home, she thinks I've been with another woman. But about 8 months ago, this started. I had been out with a few mates at the pub. Unfortunately, my phone died, and I actually cut my night short because I knew she'd be going crazy. I got back, and straight away, the questions and accusations were flying. After explaining myself 5 or 6 times, she suddenly stopped, stood in front of me, then got on her knees and started pulling down my trousers. Honestly, I thought I was about to get lucky for a second, but what actually happened is she started to sniff my crotch and seriously examine my genitals for signs of sex. WTF. She later apologized for it and said she was just upset, but now she's been doing it on a weekly basis. When I tell her it's crazy and she needs to stop, she insists I would only mind if I thought she might smell something. She also said I'm welcome to sniff hers anytime I want to, but yeah, no, that's just freaking weird. She won't accept that it's batshit crazy behavior, so I'm hoping Reddit can help me show her that it very much is. So please, for the love of God, tell me, am I the a-hole because I don't want my girlfriend constantly sniffing my crotch to check if I smell like sex? It's really the level of paranoid that is pathologically unhealthy. Would be a deal breaker for me personally. Honestly, it's getting to that point. She doesn't think she needs therapy. It hasn't always been this bad, and aside from this, she is amazing and I love her more than anything. But I don't know what to do anymore. Not the a-hole. This is abuse. Read this back as if a man was doing this to their partner. Then ask yourself why you are putting up with this level of abuse when everyone here would tell a woman going through this to run as fast as they could out of that type of relationship. She seems to think she'd be absolutely cool with me doing it if it was the other way. I assure you that if this was the other way, you would be facing SA charges and DV charges. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Seriously, run. I am a woman who has been in abusive and controlling relationships. This will only get worse. Get out now. I would honestly, seriously consider therapy for yourself to understand what you've been through and to contact the police. This is not okay. This is abuse. She is perpetuating abuse towards you, and you need to put yourself first here, not your abuser. Yeah, to be honest, I think I've definitely been downplaying it all in my head and making excuses for her. I really wasn't expecting some of the comments I've been getting. I know how bad it is. I just really do love her. And apart from this, when things are good, they're great, you know. I'm really not sure what to do.